Why can't I see the comments on YouTube? Where are the comments? So if anyone's joining from YouTube, I'm looking for the comments and reactions. There we go. So I don't know if anyone's tuning in. All right. All right.
America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad, because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours. You want to claim this land as a land of the free? Then the symbol of your country
everybody.
cannot
Thanks for
just be a
joining.
flag.
I'm going to do a
The symbol
short
also
Q&A
has to
session
be
about
one of its
fixing
citizens
America.
exercising his right to burn
You know,
that
we're
flag
seeing
in
so much
protest.
stuff going on
Now show
around
me
the
that.
world,
Defend
and I
that,
think people
celebrate
get
that in your
focused
classrooms.
on the wrong things.
Then
I know
stand
there's a
up
lot
and
of
sing about the land of the free.
pessimism.
I've known Bob Rumson for years.
There's a lot of
I've been
pessimism,
operating under the assumption that the
but
reason Bob
you
devotes
can't
so
get
much time and energy
brought
shouting
down
at
by
the rain
that
was that he
pessimism
simply didn't get it.
to
Well, I
figure
was
out
wrong.
what the
Bob's
solutions are.
problem
Like,
isn't that he
everybody
doesn't get it.
complains
Bob's problem is that he can't
about
sell
the
it.
problems. Everybody's shouting
We have
about the
serious
problems from the
problems to
rooftops,
solve,
and they
and we need
should. I'm not
serious
saying
people to
you
solve
shouldn't.
them.
But
And
whether it's a
whatever your
content
particular
creator
problem is,
on
I promise you,
Tube or TikTok
Bob
or
Rumson
wherever
is not
else,
the least bit
everyone
interested
talks
in
about
solving it.
problems. No
He
one's
is
talking about
interested in two
solutions.
things.
So I've been getting a
Two
lot of
things
comments
only.
lately
Making you afraid of
in my
it
videos
and telling you who's to
about
blame
particular
for it. That,
issues,
ladies and
and I
gentlemen,
thought
is
I
how
would
you
take
win
a moment
elections.
in this Q&A session, in this live. I don't expect there to be a lot of people here, but if you want to stick around, you can ask questions as well, because I'm always promoting the ultimate solution, like figuring out what's the root cause of everything in America, all the problems that we face, all the issues that we have, and what's the root cause. So I hope everybody can hear me. If you can let me know, because I don't have my headphones on today. You let me know in the comments if you can hear me. I'm broadcasting both on Tube here and on TikTok. And I want to do, like I said, a Q&A session because awesome. Thank you, Patriot Mom. I appreciate you for confirming that you can hear me. Awesome. Thank you, Betty. That's appreciative. Or thank you for that. So anyway, so today's was a Q&A session. And as I'm waiting for more people to get here, let me start out by promoting, again, I say this in all my lives, but you know, I hope you bear with me that I'll need to say it 10,000 more times, 100,000 more times. There's only one solution. Like, everything comes back to one thing, And I know that I don't have it up on the screen today, but it comes back to the influence of money in our political system. It's greed. It's greed and the influence of money in the political system. Everything that you're seeing, whether it's the Venezuela issue or what's happening in Greenland, or of course, what's happening with ICE, it's all part of Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation and those particular issues. Now, why does the Heritage Foundation even exist in the first place? Why does AIPAC exist in the first place? Why do tech billionaires from Silicon Valley have so much influence in our politics? Is this supposed to be a government for the billionaires, by the billionaires? Is it supposed to be a government for foreign governments and for foreign lobbyists like AIPAC? Is it supposed to be a government for the religious radicals? Is it supposed to be a government for people that are want to be scammers, criminals, fraudsters? We all know, obviously, that's not the case. The founding fathers designed a constitution for the people, by the people. Very simple concept. And never in their lifetime could they ever have imagined that people could be construed or interpreted as anything other than citizens, individuals, or human beings. Think about it. You can't blame the founding fathers for not putting in the Constitution that they had to be wary of the Supreme Court interpreting people, we the people, a government for the people, by the people. How could they ever have imagined that some rogue Supreme Court, some bought and paid for Supreme Court, would ever interpret the term a person as anything other than an individual, a citizen, or a human being? I know to all of us, it sounds completely, absolutely absurd. And there's no doubt it is absurd. But with that said, it is reality that the Supreme Court somehow interpreted that corporations, and I want to clarify that corporations have personhood, which means corporations have rights like human beings do. Now, corporations can have rights such as owning property. There's nothing wrong with that. But to have the same rights or even more rights than individuals, citizens, or human beings is the most mind-blowing absurdity. It is the crime or the scam of the American history. This is the scam of American history, that people could be interpreted as something other than human beings. That is the scam. It is literally against the rule of law and against the Constitution. If you understand the meanings of words and have comprehension, no one, not a single American, not a single normal American, would ever think that a person could be interpreted as anything other than a human being. We all know this undeniable fundamental truth. And yet, the legal system and the courts somehow were able to make that leap. It's hard to even put into words sometimes, but we all know that that's true. Now, when we say corporations are people, again, I've said this many times as well, but it's important to recognize we're not talking about the Walmarts, the Exxons of the world, the Targets, the grocery stores, those companies. Those are not what we're talking about here. When the Supreme Court ruled that corporations have personhood or artificial entities, meaning corporations have rights, even more rights than individuals, they weren't interpreting that like most people think of it as Exxon and Walmart and these types of companies have those rights. It is bad enough if those companies have the same rights as individuals or human beings. But what most people don't realize is that ruling opened up the construct for corporations, all types of corporations, not just corporations that sell a product or service, but political corporations, political organizations could form companies known as super PACs. They are also companies. So they're called 527s. 527s are super PACs. And 503c4s are dark money organizations, which are also companies. So when I talk about corporations are people, I'm not necessarily referring to Walmart has the same rights as everybody. What I'm referring to, and most people don't truly understand, and if you're Gen Z or you're millennial and you're not too familiar with Citizens United, I get it. I'm not talking about those type of companies. I'm talking about the really sinister, nefarious corporations that are corporations only designed to manipulate and infect and poison the American democracy. And those are political corporations. They don't make a product. They don't make a service. They just spend money on elections, which means they fundamentally manipulate people in office, elected officials. They raise money for the sole impact to manipulate government officials to rule in their best interest or to vote in their best interest and not in the best interest of what's supposed to be a government for the people, by the people. So I hope that's really clear that we're not talking about regular companies. We're talking about political infiltrators, political corporations that are infiltrators into the system. Now, I got to see someone here that says AIPAC and someone that says George Soros. Yeah, all of them. I don't care if it's left or right. All of these political organizations are designed for one thing only, and that's to buy elected officials. That's to buy their votes in Congress, in the Trump administration, in previous administrations, whatever it might be. The amount of corruption that these political companies have within the system is the single root cause of everything that's happening in the world, essentially. Everything that's happening to your world. So if you're Gen Z and you're concerned about buying a house or having a job in 5 or 10 years from now, or whatever it might be, they don't care. No one cares about you in terms of our representatives. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's the Supreme Court's fault that allowed money to influence the political system. So every single issue comes back to money in politics. Everyone, Venezuela, Greenland, ICE, abortion, everything is impacted by this because there are 3 particular groups. They are the Heritage Foundation, which are the religious radicals. I'm going to do a video on that specifically tomorrow about the money that comes into the Heritage Foundation, a breakdown of who supports the Heritage Foundation and what the Heritage Foundation stands for and what they're doing. Specifically, they're the most nefarious and sinister group in America by far. Some people will think it's the pro-Israel lobbies. It's not. They're also nefarious. They also have certain interests that don't represent what the people need. And it's also not, number one, the Silicon Valley billionaires, even though they are incredibly destructive to our American democracy, sort of the technology economists, if you want to call them the technocrats. The Heritage Foundation, like I said, which I'll do a video on that tomorrow, the amount of money, but everything that's happening in Venezuela, Greenland, ICE, it's all part of Project 2025, all of it. And the Heritage Foundation is a nonprofit, a 501c3. Now, they also have super PACs that are like shell companies. So the money that they get, so the Heritage Foundation is a think tank. They come up with strategies on how to manipulate our political system. They come up with strategies on how to turn us into a religious state someday, how to destroy the Constitution, how to turn us into a theocracy, which is a religious state, which means they want to tell you how to think. They want to tell you how to behave. Thank you for the caps. Thank you for helping me reach the goals. They want to tell you, like religions want to do. They want to tell everyone their version of how to behave and how to think. And they want to have extreme surveillance. So the Heritage Foundation and the Silicon Valley billionaires are working sometimes in conjunction. the technocrats or the Silicon Valley billionaires, the AI gods, the media gods, the ones that control our social media and regular media, traditional media, and our artificial intelligence, they have so much data on us. That is what they're doing. They're turning us into a surveillance state. And they, at times, many people like Peter Thiel are connected to the Heritage Foundation. And everything that's happening with ICE, like I said, is happening because of the Heritage Foundation. Also with Greenland, also with Venezuela, and a lot of things between Russia and the United States, all because of the Heritage Foundation. So I can't make that any more clear. And I hope that you'll share the diagram that I've been sharing a lot in my videos, the mega donors of influence. And that image is available under my link underneath my profile. So if you ever want to share that image with people, because like you, I was never able to connect all the dots between all the nefarious actors. But going back to the prime subject matter of this live is that everyone, rightfully so, is being distracted by what's happening with ICE and what's happening in Greenland. I get it. I understand it. These are really big issues. They're important. But if you're Gen Z and you're confused about politics, maybe you're not that politically astute, you haven't been around as long, you've been convinced by social media, by all these influencers arguing about culture wars and all this other stuff. I get it. It's all important. But everything comes back to the money. It comes back to the money in the political system for the simple fact that our representatives don't represent us as regular Americans, as ordinary Americans, and they represent everybody but us, whether it's corporate special interests, those religious radicals, the Silicon Valley billionaires, and many, many foreign governments. Like our complete government has been hijacked from a government by the people for the people to something that's completely unrecognizable today. And people think, well, it's too late. It's too late. Nothing can be done. It is not true. It is false. You only believe that because it seems so difficult. It seems like such an uphill climb to get to a place where we can course correct and put America in a better trajectory. Like I said in my earlier video that I posted today, I always promote a 28th Amendment. Everyone's got to get behind the 28th Amendment. There are protests and boycotts and all this other stuff. I get it. I'm not saying not to do these things. But unless we can eliminate the money from the political system, there's no way that America will ever return to some semblance of a representative democracy. So if you're a Gen Zer or a millennial or a Gen Xer like me, you have to understand that democracy is fragile. It's an experiment. It needs to be protected. And if you're Gen Z, millennial, Gen X, it's up to us to protect it. So when I promote a 28th Amendment, not a single person has ever, in my comments, said they would not support that. Not one. Tens of thousands of comments. Not a single person has ever said that. They've said things that you're delusional. It can't ever happen. It'll never happen. But then my response to those people are just like the video I posted today. In the 1900s, so just last century, starting 26 years ago, there were 12 constitutional amendments that were passed in that century. 12 out of the 27. Now, you could almost say it's 12 out of 17 because the first 10 constitutional amendments were the Bill of Rights, and they were passed within a year or two right after the Constitution was ratified. So the Bill of Rights and the Constitution happened relatively within the same couple of years in 1789 and so forth. So 12 out of the 17 following amendments were just in the last century. And between 1900 and 1925, so if you compare that to 2000 and 2025, from 1900 to 1925, there were 4 constitutional amendments passed. And everyone thinks that you can't do it again. Like you have it we all have it in our minds that it's impossible, it will never happen. Well, just in the 1900s, just between 1900 and 1925, there were 4 constitutional amendments. Here we are in 2000 to 2025, and not a single one has been even proposed, never mind ratified. So my point is to those people that think it's impossible, it's not. It's not that long ago that it happened, that we had 12 of 17 since the Constitution that have been passed just within the past 110 years. And the last one was 1992. And everyone, I mean everyone, every American, no matter how delusional the MAGA people are, even MAGA agrees that they want to eliminate corruption from politics. They've been fooled into thinking that draining the swamp meant that, or some people thought it meant that. Draining the swamp to them, they didn't even know what it meant. But in my world, draining the real swamp, draining the cesspool, is draining the influence of the corruption of the money from the political system. And if that message resonates with you, all I can ask is for you to share that message and share the videos with more people. I even see it in the comments. How do we get representatives to vote against their own self-interest? So it's a great point. So let me answer that question, Betty Pitch. So it's very binary, meaning it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And you ask, what would it take to make it happen? It's just enough people demanding it. It's enough people focusing on one thing. Remember, you can't have politics talking about a laundry list of things you want to fix. You have to go to the fundamental principle, not the issues of what are you trying to fix. And you're trying to fix that you want your representatives to represent you, not the big money interests. So how do you do that? There's only one way. It's a popular movement. It's not a popular movement uprising of a protest. It's just 50 million people. And I say just, and I mean just, because there's hundreds of millions that would agree with this. So it's 50 million people being aware that if there were 50 million people that supported the 28th Amendment, you would demand it. And if the people who represent us wouldn't support it and wouldn't pledge to support it and guarantee to support it, you replace those people in the primaries or other ways. There are other ways as well. You replace those people in the primaries from both parties with people that pledge and guarantee to support it. Because politicians ultimately will do one of two things. They will either bow down to the people that are paying them, meaning the wealthy, the elites, and they will do what they are told because of the people that help them get elected. Or there's one thing that's more powerful than that, and that is an uprising, a groundswell of a popular movement of 50 million plus people that say no. No more of the billionaire special interests, no more of the corporate special interests, no more of the religious special interests, no more of the foreign special interest. And everybody agrees with it. And that's the beauty or the magic, the potential magic here is that all Americans would come together to support that. And the politicians would run scared. They would turn on a dime if they knew there was 50 million people that ensured that they had to vote for a 28th Amendment, propose it, and then ratify it by 3/4 of the states. Remember, this has happened 12 times in the 1900s. 12 times. So at a rate, on average, more than once every decade. So that has to be the message. And I will say it again, like I said, another 10,000, 100,000 times that needs to happen. I have a couple of guests waiting to jump in. So I'm going to take those guests, Gary and JY, just not quite yet. I do want to answer a couple of questions that I've been getting in the videos, and I think it'll be interesting for those of you. So I have a question here from Robert 873. He said, TK Civics, we need a new constitution, something that addresses these issues. Not complicated, but straightforward and to the point. Now, I would say to Robert, absolutely not. We do not need a new constitution. The Constitution is a brilliant document. Does it have a couple warts and flaws in it? Yes, it does. But a new constitution? Absolutely not. The constitution that is the basis for setting up government and giving us our liberties and freedoms, that took a tremendous amount of effort and time between incredible founding fathers that had a deeper vision for this country. There is nothing wrong with the Constitution per se. There are, like I said, there are maybe some warts and flaws or things that you can pick out, but it's not a legal issue. It's not about the piece of paper and what's written on the paper. Everything that's wrong with our world is a people problem. It's the people that took an oath to defend the Constitution that are not doing so. So we do not need a new Constitution. Absolutely not. The Constitution was designed to evolve. And like I said, it's happened 12 times in the last century alone. And what I'm proposing is really just one major change to the Constitution, which is a 28th Amendment. And then I would also suggest a 29th Amendment to ensure that politicians, or being a politician, should not be a career, and that there must be term limits on all public servants in terms of elected officials. So we absolutely do not need a new Constitution, Robert. We just have to do what the Constitution was designed to do, and that is change with the times. Thanks, Anne Marie. Thanks, Cat Lady. So term limits. So 29th Amendment would be term limits for those. Okay. All right. Now, the next question from Cable 5769. This was in regards to the United States and Trump threatening to take Greenland. I hope our military generals block this. That would be wonderful. But I can't imagine, I can imagine a place that they do that. But if they prevent doing that, going to take Greenland, will Trump and the administration replace those generals with other generals that do it? It's hard to know what will truly happen. This is truly suicidal for NATO and America to actually want to take Greenland and destroy or dissolve NATO, or have NATO remove us from the NATO alliance. So I would hope the generals would block this as well. I think they might, but I also think that dictators and people in power have done things that are so nefarious that they could figure out ways to around this. All right, next question. All right. 777 Captain Steve. 777 I don't know why I'm saying 777. 777 Captain Steve, obviously Boeing 777, commented regarding that we need to rage against the machine. And when I say rage against the machine, it's rage against the machine is who's the machine right now? The machine is all the special interests, those religious radicals, the Silicon Valley tech billionaires, the foreign governments. That is the machine that is controlling our political system. And 777 Captain Steve says, you're right, but it's next to impossible now. I understand why he thinks it's next to impossible, but it's absolutely not. You might think it's impossible. It might be impossible in a few years from now or in 5 years from now. But at this moment, it's not impossible. At the moment, we seem to have still relatively free and fair elections. And there's going to come a point where it might be impossible. But if 50 million people were to support what I'm trying to promote, a 28th Amendment, we could rage against the machine, meaning the political machine, meaning both parties eventually, that we could ensure that both parties course correct and bring representation back to the people. Thanks, man, from the West 420. If I thought I made even more sense, I feel like I'd be growing faster. More people would be catching on. Obviously, I have a pretty loyal audience at times, but we need 50 million people, right? So at the end of the day, the amount of people that are currently backing this is just in the thousands. But remember, thousands turned into hundreds of thousands can turn into a million. And that's what I'm trying to do. And thanks for all the likes, everybody. Thanks for the caps and helping me achieve the goals here on TikTok and on YouTube. So I appreciate it. about making sense. I don't know how to reach every generation. At some point, we're going to have to reach Generation Z. Gen Z really needs to step up because it's their future world. And every young generation, whether it's the voting rights era or the civil rights era, has had to step up to protect freedom, liberty, the rule of law. And there's nothing wrong with Gen Z. They're not doing anything wrong. It's just that they've been so corrupted because of social media and between social media influencers that have confused. Gen Z doesn't know what to believe these days. It's hard for people who have even experienced more, but Gen Z is going to be a critical part of this. If there's any chance to save the Democratic Republic of the United States, Gen Z is going to have to figure out and understand that it's all about the money, that the money is the problem, that if you just took the money out, everything would start to fix itself, and very quickly. How quickly, if you truly had people in Congress on both parties who were willing to compromise like they used to. You can argue, you can disagree, but you can't take such hard positions where you're not compromising. Compromising is winning. And if we could ever get people back into office that had some integrity, that some had moral integrity and character and understood that compromising is winning, then things could change really quickly. But again, it takes 50 million people. All right, another question. Enrico Kernick says, and this was also in regards to my Rage Against the Machine video, you're really talking about a complete overhaul of the entire system. No, I'm not. Raging against the machine and removing or eliminating corruption from the political system is not an overhaul of the entire system. It's just one thing. It's just one constitutional amendment that says eliminating corruption from the political system. No super PACs, no dark money, no corporate special interests, no religious radicals, no Silicon Valley billionaires. Only people that help elect people to represent them. That's it. Getting rid of the notion at the constitutional level that corporations and political organizations cannot have rights like human beings do, like citizens do. That is not an overhaul of the entire system. It is one change. One big change could change everything. All right, moving on to the next question. All right, this is regarding if Trump takes NATO. If Trump decides to invade Greenland, which if you're going to do that, that would be a declaration of war, you would think. But of course, being the commander-in-chief, he could order the military to go to Greenland. So it's Jim Say comments, it's up to Republicans to impeach Trump. If he takes Greenland, NATO will take away all the U.S. bases on their territories. So first part of that question, will the Republicans impeach Trump? Boy, you would think that would be the thing that would galvanize enough Democrats and Republicans to say enough, that they don't want to destroy the NATO alliance. But you can't be sure of that. The Republican Party has been completely subjugated by Trump, completely compromised. They are completely, it's a dereliction of duty in terms of their checks and balances powers of the Republican Party. So would they impeach him? I don't know. You would think that would be the thing. But will NATO take away all the U.S. bases on their territories? In a heartbeat. Absolutely. The NATO will remove the United States from NATO and will take over all of its bases. We will lose about 200 military bases across the world in an instant. But you might think, well, they would never go for that. This is actually part of Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation. They want us to recoil from the rest of the world. They want us to only project power in our hemisphere. So for people that say we're going to lose our bases, Trump is probably okay with that. It's probably going to be okay because that's what the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 are trying to do. So a few more questions, and then I'm going to take some guests. All right, next question. Wanda Bannock commented, the USA Senate and Congress needs to get their shit together to save their country and the world. Otherwise, life as we know it will never be the same. That is true. Not just the same for the United States and the American population, but the entire world. The entire world relies on the heartbeat of democracy of the United States. And if the United States people, she says the United States Senate and Congress need to get their shit together. No, I would argue it's the United States public, because in a democratic republic, the people are the ultimate authority, not their representatives. So it's up to the people. So when the rest of the world is looking at America, they shouldn't be looking at our government. They need to be looking at us as the people to decide to come together and say enough is enough. And those of you who think that there's just too many MAGA supporting Trump, you just have to figure out what the common adversary is and convince enough of those people, a few people, a small percentage of those people, that there's a common adversary and that we need to rally against them. All right, next question. Skeets comments, the Heritage Foundation needs to be classified as a terrorist organization and tried for treason. Yes. How can you imagine not? The Heritage Foundation is literally an American tea organization. At this point, they used to be a very religious conservative organization that was promoting sort of normal Christian values, if you want to call it that. But that's not them today. They are not a white Christian organization today. What they are is a Yahtzee party or organization. What they are is a white Supremes party. I keep saying party, not party. They are a white Supremes organization, and they are clearly a domestic tea organization because they do not believe in the rule of law. They do not believe in the Constitution, and they want to turn us into a theocracy. So that is true. All right, next question. All right, this one's interesting. From Tack Was Taken commented, yep, Trump, and this is regard to the Greenland taking over Greenland. Trump is a growing threat to the U.S. and world peace. Vote out every Republican supporting this disastrous agenda in 2026. Yes. If you know what I stand for, is I'm against the corruption in both parties, but there is no comparison. There is no equivalency between the Republican MAGA party or the MAGA party and the Democratic Party today. Even though the Democrats take an enormous amount of money from certain corporate special interests and even some foreign interest, it is nowhere near what the MAGA party is doing. So to all of you that are watching, there is no doubt that in this next midterm election, if it's free and fair, that blue party has to win. The blue party has to take control over Congress. Otherwise, we will probably lose our democracy forever. And having the Democratic Party take over Congress is a stay of execution for American democracy and the American experiment. All right, next question. Lizzie Busy 84 comments, how do we fight back? How do we make this stop? These are legit questions and no one has answers. You know, I can relate because the only reason I started this channel is because I only see people complaining, bringing up problems, discussing the problems, and very few people talking about solutions. So it's a legit question and no one has answers. And that's why I started this account. Well, I know with 100% certainty what the root cause is. Most of you do as well. We know what the cancer on the American democracy is, and that's the corruption of greed and money in the political system. It's not about any one issue. It's strictly about the fundamental principle that elections should be funded by individuals, by citizens, by people. That is the only solution. And what I hope to do on this channel and to Lizzie Busy to tell you is if someone like me, an ordinary person, continues to grow and continues to spread the message, more people will start to recognize that message and sharing the same message. And then there could be a wave over time. It takes a while to build a wave. It doesn't happen overnight. So a 28th Amendment is the solution to virtually everything. It's the only solution. I've asked hundreds of people to come up with something else that's the root cause of all problems in American democracy. And I've never heard anyone be able to identify something that's more significant than that. All right. TJ Love says, Putin said several times in the last decade he will end NATO without firing a single shot. He did. He did say that. And this is in regards to Greenland and the United States taking over Greenland. So destroying NATO, one of the ways you do that is there are Russian influences within the Trump administration directly tied to Trump to this very day. Kushner and Witkoff are closely connected to two other Russians that are connected to Putin. And Putin has been saying for a very long time that he will tear down America from the inside out. And by us threatening Greenland, it is the way to dissolve the NATO alliance, or at least remove the United States from NATO. Then Putin, in his mind, thinks that then he will be able to go attack parts of the former Soviet Union and make them Russian again. He's delusional. He doesn't have the military force or capability to do it anymore, but he thinks he does. And of course he's delusional. So he still wants to dissolve NATO so that there will be more opportunity for him to not only destroy NATO or dissolve NATO, but to weaken the European nations and European governments from the inside out. There are a lot of European governments. There's lots of ways to use misinformation against them to break up the European Union and even that NATO alliance in the future. Brexit is just one example of how he did that, using misinformation against the UK citizens for them to leave Brexit. So it's true. Putin could dissolve NATO, or certainly at least have the United States withdraw from NATO or get kicked out of NATO without firing a single shot. All right, so that's all the questions. So thanks for bearing with me as I read those questions. Thanks to everybody for being here. I'm going to take a couple of guests. We have Lilas, or I think Gary was here first. Gary, you're up first, and I'll bring in a couple of people, Gary and JY, or actually I'll do one at a time just for about 2 minutes each. If you're still here, Gary, and you want to join, you're not here. How about JY3? Are you still here? And then Lily is next. All right, so JY I don't think is here. Let's see if Lily's here and wants to join the panel. Let me see if I can kickstart the panel. If you want to join, jump into the queue, and we'll have a short panel today, and then I'll be back later tonight as well. Lily, you here? All right. So people have been waiting a while, so I think they dropped out. If anyone else wants to join the live, request up to join. Is there anything that I talked about that anyone would disagree with? I truly mean constructive disagreements. Who would disagree? Anyone with the 28th and 29th Amendment. I can't put it up on the screen today because I'm working off the mobile phone, but a 28th Amendment would be to eliminate corruption from the political system, meaning remove all money, all corporate special interests, all religious special interests, all the Silicon Valley billionaire special interests, and all the foreign governments. Is there anyone that would disagree? If you agree, obviously put a 1 in the comments. And if you disagree, I'll look at for you specifically, put a 2 in the comments. I've asked this question many times and I've never seen a 2. And don't do it just for laughs if you want to put in a 2, or if you want the first person to get through it, put a 2, because I've literally never seen a 2 in the comments. I know it sounds absurd that no one has ever disagreed. So thanks for the ones, Badat and Chemo and Yo-Ya. So money is the core cancer. is the fundamental principle. I think we all know that. Tracy, 1 and plus 1 could equal 2. So I could take all your 1s as a bunch of 2s in a warped kind of way. Gen, Gen. I wonder what Gen you are, Gen. Are you Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z? I've been getting more Gen Z callers and requests up, which is nice to see, because at the end of the day, to get 50 million people don't realize that Gen Z is one of the largest generations. It consists of 21% of the population. It's actually a really big generation, and it's really important that Gen Z understands that corruption is their enemy in American politics. Like if they want to truly fix their lives and be able to afford a house and have jobs in the future and have healthcare or have opportunity and live in a world that some of us were fortunate to be able to grow up in the 80s and 90s when the world wasn't so freaking crazy and you actually had the rule of law and people believed in the Constitution and they believed in democracy. If those people are, if Gen Z wants to live that opportunity like so many of us had, they're going to have to step up. Every generation has to protect freedom and liberty. It's not that complicated. What years are Gen Z? So Gen Z is if you're right around 28, 29 years old, you're close to millennials. Right between 28 and 30 is when you're turning a millennial. And Gen Z is if you're around 20-ish, right about 20-ish right now. Or maybe it's 18. I think Gen Alpha is the next generation. So what are the years? I don't have them off the top of my head. Let's pull it up on the computer so I can answer that. Gen Z is the current voting age generation up until about 30 years old. And then once you get to about 30 years old, you're going into, you're going up into the millennials, which is Gen Y, right? X, Y, which are millennials, and Gen Z, which is the current, and Gen Z are from 1997 to 2012. That's Gen Z. Thank you. Yeah, Celine, you beat me to it. It began in 97. Absolutely. Why did it begin in 97? Does anyone know that? Actually, I don't know why that is. Why is it considered, was there some sort of inflection point that happened in 1997 where they decided that's the marker to turn from millennials to Gen Z? And then Gen Alpha is anyone born after 2013. So anyone that's 12 years old or younger would be Gen Alpha right now. All right, so I have a few more questions that I didn't read. Let's see if there's any others that make sense to cover here. This one is actually kind of long. All right, so White Fairy 01 commented, until I have more people that want to join in and have a panel, I should probably change this. Let's see if I can change this panel and get people in here. Fluid. Let's try this one. All right, so maybe people want to join, and that'll be easier to join now. So the thing is, Europeans, White Fairy 01 commented, and this is regard to America or Trump wanting to take Greenland. White Fairy, the thing is, Europeans are not going to just roll over and die. That's not going to happen. Russia is trying to destroy NATO and the European Union, but why do Americans assume that everything is gone if this happens? Okay, it's a good point. It won't disappear overnight, no doubt about it. But what Europe needs to recognize is that while NATO won't go away overnight and it won't fall apart immediately, it is hard to foresee a Europe in 50 years from now staying as galvanized and united without the United States. The United States is not only economic power, it's military power, and its geography. When you have an alliance with the world's largest economy and largest military, that alliance is much more likely to stay intact than if that most powerful, economic, powerful person and military that also is in a geography and a location that has tremendous amount of resources and cannot be attacked itself. That is an incredible advantage to Europe. Europe is much more likely to face deep consequences over time if the United States leaves NATO. So it won't fall apart overnight, but it will eventually likely fall apart faster than most people think it would. Now, he also says NATO may fall apart, but other alliances will be formed. Russia will ultimately fail. They might be right, and that's what they need to happen. Because of Russia's problems with their birth rates, Russia is going to fail. There's no doubt about it. Plus, Russia has to worry about China. So the one saving grace for Europe might be that Russia is going to be incapable of doing anything to Europe over the long term, because they also have to worry about their other neighbors that are not their friends. China is not the friend of Russia. So that could be helpful to Europeans in the long term. No doubt about it. Trump knows he can make a fortune from selling Europe and us out. That's true. Now, there is also, regarding Greenland, there are billionaires, particularly Bezos and ChatGPT CEO Sam Altman, and from, which is the makeup fortune, I forget, one of his buddies, that are persistent in convincing Trump to take Greenland, because it appears, and this is more rumor, it's not known, that the AI companies want to use Greenland as a giant heat sink, meaning they'd like to put their data centers on parts of Greenland because it has a lot of water, of course, and it's very cold, which is very good for data centers. Of course, they need to get power, so it has to be close to the power generation areas. It's not just like you can put these things anywhere in Greenland. Greenland is a frozen tundra. So they could make, well, Trump can't make a fortune. Well, he could, but it's really not about Trump. And again, it's about the tech billionaires. When I talk about the amount of corruption within the political system, this is about money again. This is always about the forces of unregulated capitalism. And I'm for capitalism. But government's role is to protect its society. And to protect its society, you do that through, one, having a military to prevent invasion, and number two, through regulations to prevent exploitation of a society. That's one of the whole points of regulation in government, whether it's protecting your water, clean drinking water, proper air quality, making sure when you crash in your automobile that you have airbags and so forth. Regulations are incredibly important. But when you have corporations that are exploiting the system, and where you have Congress people that are representing the interests of corporations, and you have unregulated capitalism, then you get to the point with what you have today. So capitalism is not necessarily bad, but unregulated, out of control, runaway capitalism, where they're not even paying their fair share of taxes at the corporate level or at the billionaire level, is absolutely bad. That is the fault of poor government and lax regulations and lax laws. That is the problem. All right, I thought I had a guest that was waiting, but they didn't want to jump in. So we'll keep moving on about that. Let me see if I missed any other comments in the comments. And thanks for being here, everybody. I appreciate you all. I know there's only 83 people here. The old world will cease to exist. The new world, it's on its way. Mr. Global, I love your optimism. Incredible. But you are right. You are right. If there are not enough people, American citizens, that decide to protect freedom and liberty and the rule of law, you will be right. No doubt about it. If we just continue to turn a blind eye and allow the government to act with impunity, then this new world, and people will ask, what does this new world likely look like? Well, it likely becomes a two-polar or tripolar era of empire building between China and the United States, and potentially Russia as the most nefarious. Are you trying to come up? Nope. All right, she wasn't trying to come up. No worries. Oh, you're tapping the screen. So let me change that. No wonder that's the problem, right? So I'm assuming the way I have this layout is not very conducive for tapping the screen and giving likes. So let's try a different layout so people won't do that. But I'd like to have some people on the panel to request up. Fluid grid. Let's see, my available spots 4. They've done a good job with these changes here, which is kind of cool. All right, so my apologies. So I know that last. So keep tapping the screen, everybody. I appreciate it. I know a lot of people are finding this account now on the FYP page, which is awesome. More and more people are finding it, and so forth. Mr. Global, did you hear me calling you out?
Yeah, I thought I'd hop on and harass you for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Are you?
As of recently, I can feel our perspectives are slowly drifting apart.
Well, that's okay. Like I always say, you don't have to agree with all my views, right? I'm never going to criticize someone unless I think I will call you or anybody out, and you can do the same if I think that you're going off the rails in my views. But again, my views don't matter. I know you believe in a 28th Amendment and the 29th Amendment. At the end of the day, that's truly all I care about. You could disagree with certain aspects, and ultimately, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll try and convince you that you're wrong, but if you're going to be thick-headed, I might not get through to you.
Well, my whole family knows that I'm thick-headed, so.
See, there you go. So you didn't even take that as a criticism because,
Well, why would I?
Exactly.
That's water off the duck's back. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, some people are sensitive, and I thought you were maybe that kind of guy.
I have sensitivity to certain things, but I also have learned that life is tough, and I've learned a lot of things along the way. And also, my personal beliefs I've put into a higher power. So I think there's something more divine at play. So
yeah, it's okay. And I may not necessarily agree with that, but I respect anyone that has those thoughts, and I'm not going to try and tear them down just because we all have our own value systems and our own belief systems, and that's totally fine. As long as yours don't infringe on mine and mine don't infringe on yours,
right.
Doesn't matter.
It's philosophical differences on how we think things should be, right?
Well, you're a product of your environment, and so am I.
Right.
You've been indoctrinated in certain ways, and so have I.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, a lot of my mother's side, my grandmother was a hippie. She didn't wear shoes. She never wore a bra. She had tattoos and earrings, and she owned a little gag shop called the Stupid Shop, and I was introduced to that type of lifestyle early on. But I learned that though she was family, that the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And a lot of things that she taught me and showed me burnt me really bad. So, anyways.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's the thing. That's the beauty of living in a society where you're supposed to have freedoms and liberties. And that's the thing that too many people don't respect these days. And I'm not talking about the what's the word? Trying to manipulate people to believing in your way. Like, I don't ever advocate for anyone pushing their beliefs on someone else, but I very much believe in that you can live your life the way you want to live your life, and it's nobody else's business.
I understand. Yeah. Well, I'd push back on that a little bit, but I'm not here to really try to get too far into it tonight.
Right. All right. Well, cool. Glad you're here. If anyone else wants to join the panel, I'm not going to stay on too long. I did answer. How long you been on? You've been on a while?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching you, I think, since you popped. I saw you on YouTube first.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then I came over onto TikTok. So.
Hey, it's good to get a single view on YouTube once in a while.
Well, everybody else is watching the Burnt Peanut, I guess. So he's got 100,000 viewers nightly. So
is he up to 100,000
on just YouTube?
Yeah. Oh, that's right, on just YouTube. That's right. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
It's insane how many people watch that kind of stuff.
Man,
So,
he's a hard worker.
well, he's entertaining, that's for sure.
He is. All right, Cal, good to see you here again. Finally, someone got the blood is thicker than water quote, right? People get it backwards at the time. I think she was referring to your quote.
Yeah, I always assumed it. I thought it was the wrong way. Growing up, that's how I thought it was supposed to be. But I learned recently that was complete opposite. I'm supposed to be. It's not that way at all. So
I would not be in a position to correct you on that, but obviously some of the people here commenting are.
well, this is a lot. This is a very spiritual game we're playing. This isn't. A lot of the things that we're battling with currently, I feel, are very spiritual, and we don't. For we not wrestle with flesh and blood, but against the darkness and wickedness of this world, right? Like,
So define that for me. Give me your point of view. So let's talk about
I'm not trying to fight you personally, TK. I'm trying to fight the thought process or the spiritual position that you take. Because, like for me, I want to protect my, what is it? I'm my brother's keeper, right? Like if I see somebody doing something wrong, I want to protect my brother or my sister, right? So for me, it's a very spiritual game, and that's where my mind goes with it. So
I would think a lot of people
live in
probably believe with that, agree with that.
I mean, I think we live in a current state where it's a lot of materialistic things, and it's a very selfish game. Like, this is what I want, this is what I need. And it's like this you versus me and them versus us, and it's not a lot of like.
Well, let me ask you this. So regarding the spiritual realm, so knowing that a tremendous amount of money comes from the evangelicals into the Heritage Foundation, or you can take the pro-Israel group, or you can take other religions. There's lots of lobbyists on all religions. The thing is that these groups, like the Heritage Foundation and their Project 2025, while they disguise some of things in their religions, and do you believe that any of them are acting in their best interest of their spirituality?
So this could be crazy. I think it's a part of the awakening process, and it's a way of an enlightenment. And what they do is it's a polarity thing. We go one way and then we go complete opposite. And it's to try to open people's minds to pay attention to what's happening. Now, there could be the argument that they are doing it in a selfish manner. And I think it seems as if a lot of them are doing it in that way, right? But if we're paying attention, all of the answers are right in front of us. So
you just follow someone's actions, right? And their actions are in their money, and their money speaks volumes.
Which it shouldn't. That's not how this works, right? So, I don't know. For me, I agree with almost probably 75% of the things that you say. The 28th Amendment, I agree with. The 29th Amendment, I agree with. But, the whole, what was it the other night that kind of got me perturbed? It just feels like maybe recently it's more of like this like fear mongering. And I don't necessarily like that from either side. Because I truly believe that we will always prevail. I don't want to, because that just causes people to just spiral. If we don't do this now, we're all gonna just, this is gonna,
We have to sound the alarm.
Well, we're sounding the alarm, but you got to do it in a very responsible way, because people take that very seriously.
You have to be genuine at the same time. You have to be genuine to who you are.
A lot of people are very depressed and manic and in a very bad place mentally, and I mean it'll jack you up if we're not careful.
Of course, it's jacking everybody up. We're all products of this environment, and this environment, whether you think it's whatever's happening is whatever good for your tribe or however you want to think about it, it's still impacting those people negatively as well. When society as a whole, as a collective, even though there's hard divisions between people on the left and the right, as a collective, there is an emotion or a feeling that the collective has about their world at all times. Like after World War II, there was a collective sigh of relief and an incredible amount of people being proud of who they were as Americans, of winning, and the feeling that lasted for 15 or 20 years after World War II. That whole generation had an incredible feel of accomplishment, even though their divisions on issues were always there, right? So there is a collective experience. And that collective experience right now for everybody, whether they admit it or not, it is negative. We live in a world with much more pessimism than optimism.
Unfortunately.
Now, a Gen Zer would maybe ask, like, how can you be so sure? Because since Gen Z, their entire life has been under this environment. Their entire awakened life after like 10, 12 years old has been in this experience. So to them, this world is very normalized. But you asked a World War II vet and you see the cycles that they've went through of euphoria and then the consequence of the Vietnam War and then back to some proudness and headed in the right direction. And then back, they've seen the cycle repeat numerous times. Someone like me has only seen it repeat 2 or 2.5 times. So I can convey to Gen Z that the environment and your overall collective feeling that you have about life is not how the world has always been. Now, most of them know that as well because they have access to so much information. And most Gen Zers do recognize that the 80s and 90s were a much better time to grow up to an adult as they are now.
Well, and I think maybe back in that time, I could be wrong. I wasn't around for that, but I feel like maybe people weren't as like opinionated and more go with the flow and let's just see how things play out. You know, maybe we jumped the gun too early to really see all the cards, right? Before we start making these assumptions and these words.
Well, I don't know if maybe opinionated was not the right word. Obviously, we're speaking off the cuff. So people have always been this relatively the same level of opinionated. They used to call things out more honestly back in the day. They weren't so, just like they do in other cultures, when you do something wrong against the culture, they'll call you out immediately. In our society today, when you do something that's perceived to be wrong to them, no one says a word anymore because everybody's afraid that the other person's going to be so on the opposite side of the spectrum and tell them to mind their own business. So people are always opinionated, and people used to call people out for doing things that were against societal norms, which we don't do very much today at all. And if it does call out today, everybody gets so goddamn offended so badly that it turns into something really nasty very quickly, right? Because there's a clear lack of understanding and empathy for one another.
Which I guess that makes me think about like our fight or flight. It seems like what is that? Our a limbic? Is it the limbic system?
Yeah, it's like heightened sensitivity in that system.
Like you're constantly either fight or flight. Like you feel like you're a part of the group, yet you're like immediately attacked by everyone who disagrees with you. And like we're never allowed to have any ounce of being wrong. Like it has to be, you know, like, and if it doesn't match what my perception of what this is, you're immediately just shunned. Like,
well, let me bring up a deep
that's dangerous to me.
Well, it is and it's not. Or maybe I'm not thinking about it the wrong way. So in certain societies, when you see when 80% of the people generally agree with a certain behavior, what happens is, or a certain way to behave, how you behave in public, how you socialize with people, is when there's a majority of people that respect the culture or certain behavioral norms, those people feel more able to come out and say something when someone does something against it. And the other people will have their back. So that, let's say the 20% will end up just accepting it. They may not always agree with it, but they won't fight back and push back as much, which is healthy, because now when you go to something as nefarious as breaking the rule of law to enforce the law in various issues, or you see the rise of out of control power, let's put it like that, whether that was in Germany in the 30s, or it's what's happening today. You might disagree with that. That's my position. We are definitely seeing a parallel universe, and it's happened. That's just two examples. It's happened hundreds of times throughout history. If, just like they didn't do in Germany, they allowed it to happen. They allowed it to happen, and now they have a tremendous amount of shame, and they make sure they stop it quickly now when they see people starting to take those behaviors again. So I would just say that it's a good thing that people have some societal norms, and they keep everybody, rowing in the same boat, relative speaking, even while at the same time having freedoms and liberties to do as they please. It's a tough balance.
And maybe it's almost as if we're rowing in the same boat, the right and the left, but the right wants to go this way and the left wants to go that way.
That's right. Well, there's a hard middle, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's split 50-50. So you have people that believe they're right and the other people believe there's right. There's no societal norms anymore, because now there's two clear separations of what that should look like. And the boat is going to split itself apart at some point.
Is there a way that we can break it down so it's not about these emotionally charged things? Like, can we not look at things like logically and choose things and change things by pragmatism or being pragmatic, or science, using science? I don't know, like
Tesla Rain says that's not Mr. Global. You might need to change your username. That Mr. Global is so popular.
People give me shit all the time for this. So let me just explain this. There's a gal, her name's Catherine Austin Fitz, and she talks about this person or this entity that she thinks is the ruler of the world. And the reason why I named myself that is because I've tried to figure out who it is. I'm trying to figure out who that person is. I didn't know there was another Mr. Global. I knew nothing about him until everybody started giving me shit for it.
Yeah, well, he's got 1 million followers, and I think people who don't know you, which is because you have much fewer followers. Let's just say that. So anyway,
fine. I don't need 1 million followers.
No,
I just need one.
So to go to your point, Florian here, who I think you've met before, right? Not met.
I was the one who brought him up that one night.
Oh, you did, right? Yeah. So you know Florian. He's a NATO. Yes. Yeah.
The German. He's from Deutschland.
Genau.
Yeah.
So Florian, when you talked about Mr. Global, can't we have rational conversations? I don't know the word you exactly used. The point is, when it comes to law, when it comes to rule of law and sort of norms, it's
when I live in my bubble, yeah.
No, not just you, Florian. I'm actually criticizing Mr. Global here a little bit, because when it's very simple, when people break fundamental principles and break trust and break integrity, then it's hard to have rational conversations with people, Mr. Global. So when you have a difference in opinion on an issue, if that issue is law-based or deeply cultural based in some sort of norms, it's hard for people to accept that, including someone like myself. So when ICE is literally breaking the law, and let's not go down the rabbit hole, but just the example, when ICE is clearly breaking the Constitution and breaking the rule of law in the Constitution, when immigrants are not being afforded their normal freedoms and protections that the Constitution gives them, I don't know how you expect it not to, when someone's unwilling to recognize the facts, and their perception of facts ends up being completely opposite of that fact, then you're going to have it devolve into a non-conversation.
I agree 1,000%. But when you stand there in that position, be consistent regardless of the person that's doing it. Because there's been many presidents that have done the exact same thing And it's only this one that's getting pushback.
Well, I am always consistent on criticizing all of them when they do something that's whether it's corruption based or anything else. However, there are not the level.
I don't agree with the globalist agenda. I don't agree with this being involved in everywhere. I don't. I don't think we should have our hands in all of these different places with people that do not serve us.
Well, then what I can tell you, I understand your point of view, but I would tell you.
I have to go.
Yeah, 1 second. I would just tell. No, I'll be really quick. I would just tell you, you need to go back in history and learn more about history. That's it. And that's not a knock against you. I think you need to understand the deeper of the history of World War I and II, and then you'll understand why it's like this. Go ahead. But Florian, how would you respond?
So the response is, you say why you should act global when nobody do something for your country, correct?
I'm just saying, it seems as if we are the one that is helping or trying to transmute or manifest this big outreach globalist idea where we make things over here and we ship it here. And then we've had this whole proof of concept with the COVID-19, and being worried that China was going to cut off all supplies to us and we were going to be up Schitt's Creek. Like, I just don't agree with this whole idea that everybody needs to be involved with everyone.
So you're
The thing is,
yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, the world is working global, and it's not different working anymore. To go back of nationalism and only to stand for yourself and produce everything on yourself and things like this, it's not working in this world. You know, you and me are just right talking with TK here because of Chinese people making fucking TikTok. We are here because Korean people making microchips and Taiwan people making microchips, what we use in our cell phones or in our smartphones.
Yeah.
We are here to talk because we use technology around the world. What we maybe make, what we have the science for it to do it, but we not produce it because we are too expensive. We can't deploy it. And nobody wants to work today in a fucking factory. That's a problem not only in the USA, it's a problem also in Germany. Yeah? Everybody wants to be a fucking influencer, or somebody wants to be like only like straight away a multimillionaire, some shit like this, wake up as a multimillionaire. You know, that's the dream what the kids have today.
Oh, I know.
I'm not talking about TK and me. I'm not talking about TK and me because I think we are the same generation nearly. So we woke up in a place where we still have the Cold War. Yeah, we see the changes after the Cold War, and the change after the Cold War was that we not only act with people what we act after the Second World War. Yeah. What we already made us globalized, and the Second World War actually made us globalized, and the end after her Second World War make us more globalized because we have alliances. We have not only the NATO, you have the Pacific ones also. So, and the thing is, without partners in the world, USA will be like, let us say, like Mexico. Stand alone. It's a big country, a lot of people, but they don't have partnerships worldwide, and without partners worldwide, and I'm not only talking for economically, because I'm talking, for example, for the NATO. Without partners, you would lose every fucking war you ever been. Yeah? All wars what the USA made, was won because of partnerships. Yeah? When you see, let us say Afghanistan was won, you make this because you have an alliance called NATO, Article 5. You are, by the way, the only person ever activated Article 5. No other NATO country ever activated Article 5. So,
I'm not sure what that is.
for example, for example, let us take a country it's close to me at the moment. Let's say Vietnam. So you think you won Vietnam? You think you make something good there?
Are you asking me?
Yes, of course I'm asking you.
I no, I don't. I don't like any conflicts.
Okay, yeah, but the world and the humans are ever had conflicts. And the time now in the partnership of the NATO,
Because that's
it's a
barbaric
time,
ideology
it's
that's completely
yeah,
dominated
no,
us
no, no,
since
no, 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 it's a genetic one. It's a genetic one.
part of it's
Yeah, but
genetic for
it's
sure.
like, no, conflicts are genetics. Yeah, so, and I don't want to talk about this. The thing is, the time inside NATO, and since we have the NATO, is the time we have the biggest time in the period in a decade with no wars. Yeah, only the small wars like we not had in our own countries, only you had 9/11, but in every other country, yeah, you don't have an army stepping into other country of us. You don't have a full scale war somewhere. Yeah, so you have only regional conflicts where
What's hap-
we decided to go into.
What's
Yeah,
happening in Ukraine? Is there not a war in Ukraine?
yeah, but they are not NATO members. This is what I mean.
Oh,
Of course, Ukraine.
I
I'm
thought
talking
I
about
thought
NATO
Ukraine was
members.
trying to become a NATO member,
No, no.
which is
They've
why
been
he went
asked
under.
before.
He attacked
Look,
them.
I can tell you something for that. Yeah, they was asking before to join NATO. This was a period where Zelensky and everybody else before was not even ideated about it. This was under her time of Timoshenko. She asked maybe become one time a NATO member and a EU member when we are in the right position. This was what Timoshenko said at this time. So, and then the NATO make a conference about it, and everybody said, okay, by idea, it's a good idea, but we will not do it as a provocation for Russia. This was the last decision made, again, 3 months before the full-scale operation of the Russians started. Yeah, this was, Angela Merkel, yeah, former chancellor in Germany,
Mhm.
former president of France said it, the former prime minister of UK said it, and your former US president said it. So, and this is like, I only can say we are strong together, we are not strong alone. And everybody thinks different, have to tell me how he wants to make it. Tell me, in a not globalized world, how you want to sort things out for the US industry, like, because even for your parts for your car, you make everything out of the country. You understand?
Oh,
Even
100,
for every
100%.
fucking single piece of electronics, you need other countries.
We
Yeah,
currently,
you can't do yourself. And in Germany, it's the same. We
and in
need the
my
world.
mind,
We
Florian,
need
though, can I
partners.
just interrupt? Can I interrupt just for a
Yes.
moment? I blame the corporations for allowing that to happen in the first place. These
Exactly.
people with money, they were the ones that shipped all of it off.
Yeah, but this was one of the reasons. This is a globalized market. Yeah, and it's since I think the start of the 80s starts the outsourcing thing. Get me wrong when I'm wrong, TK. Since start of the 80s got the globalizing started, like the outsourcing, the big industries going out of the countries, like your country in
Yep.
Germany, in Europe, source it out to the manufacture it over in India, in China, in all other places. What fucking free. In Europe, even we send it big companies over to Poland and Czech Republic at this time because they was cheaper working. And in Germany,
Right.
we lose about 100,000 of jobs. Yeah. So of course we had this challenge and we won this challenge. We are 84 million people. We are not a small country. Yeah, we are by a map a small country, but we have huge amount of people living in our country. Yeah, and we are quite wealthy. I think we are number 3 in the world. Yeah, and
Germany,
we are this because we are, and we are this because we do what we do, because we operating global and we see the world global and we accept it as a global place. But we believe in partnerships because we have contracts, we have laws, and we try to keep these laws. We try to keep partnerships.
But none of that
For
really
sorry, sometimes this is
changes.
not working.
How does it change? How does that change if I don't understand.
Okay, the
It seems
change
like
would
you're
be,
saying it goes completely out of the window. Like that's no longer an option.
Because the other country,
no,
if
is no option.
well,
To be nationalism is no option.
right. So if we become nationalistic and bring more things in house, the rest of the world is not going to go globalized. Is not going to do the same. The rest of the world is still going to have trading partners that make it most effective, pros and cons to trade with one another, right? That makes them more
That's a part of a
successful.
free market, though, TK, is it not? If a country wants to do the same products or build the same thing, and they can have the opportunity to go somewhere else and say, "Hey, I make this, but I make it for cheaper, but it doesn't last as long,"
But
or
Mr.
"Hey,
Glob,
I make this for way more, but it lasts 1,000 times longer."
Right.
Like,
But then
why?
why are you promoting it sounds like you're promoting to have behind that we should have all industry or large industry back to this country and we should be insular and we shouldn't be a globalized economy. You seem to be,
No, I just want to be self-sufficient.
but Mr. Global, see, I understand your point of view. And I even agree in my mindset, in my personal mindset, I agree with things that we have important industry, have to have important industries in the home country. Yeah? Like things what we really need for every fucking day, we need to support them and even subvention that in the home countries. But this is a security reason why I say like this. You know,
Yeah.
in this point, I'm not a lawyer. In this point, I'm a soldier. I'm an officer. Yeah, it's a strategic thing, and I understand the point when you say like this. But I can't accept when you say on one side you are for free trade and the free market. You can only be for free trade and free market when you think globalized. You have the biggest consumer point in the USA, in the world, yeah, at the moment. But I think even when you see it openly and you make a real statistic, it's not possible at the moment because some states not allowed to looking in the balances. But I think even China is the biggest consumer market in the world, and India as well, because have more people like Europe and USA together, you know? So actually this could be the biggest market.
But why
Yeah,
why
or
isn't it though? It's because we've been indoctrinated to live
because of
this
the,
way.
because of the wealthy at the moment. But it's changing. Did you been ever to India?
Oh no, I would never go.
Okay, but
I couldn't be in a I couldn't be
I
in a
can give you
plane
one
that
idea.
long.
I was the first time there before 20 years. Yeah, and I see the country was living after the empire, yeah, the British Empire, struggling to get the economy up. Yeah, and I've been there last year, and I can tell you, last year I come there, fucking hell, they have like Silicon Valley 6 times in India. They're doing everything at the moment, and invest so much money, you not even think about it.
Well, I
Believe
know.
me.
all right.
I that's their prerogative. Okay, TK, I won't cut you
Yeah, no,
off.
that's right. I have to answer this question because we got our good friend, communist Rick in the comments, and it's a little off
Oh,
topic, but excuse me both because Florian, I think you're going to want to interject here, being the lawyer that you are. Rick, so I made a comment the other day, like last week, and Rick the communist was here, and I said, I don't give a shit about any other country. The other countries that don't have some form of democracy, I said, they don't matter. I don't give a shit about countries that they don't matter. Those people that don't have freedom and liberty and decide who their government is, in my worldview, if they don't believe and their society doesn't have strong institutions and a rule of law and freedom and liberty, that in my mind, to the Western world and to any society, Japan, not just the Western world, yeah, the Western world, I mean, all part of the Western world, that I don't think they matter as much because you're dealing with dictators, whether that's Putin, whether that's Xi, or whether that's anything else. So Rick was trolling me because I said not all countries matter. And I'm going to stand very high on my high horse and on my soapbox and repeat that. Yeah, the countries that are run by dictators and so forth, and where they don't have freedom and liberty and the rule of law, in my mind, when it comes to the global world order, they don't fucking matter to me. Now, are they still a part of the world economy? I want to see them move towards democracies. So that's my position, Rick. You think I misspoke? I want to be very clear. I did not misspeak. I want those countries and those societies to be free, but they don't matter because I don't ever want to trust any dictator, any autocrat, any fascist government that may be looking like they're treating their people well right now, but that won't happen for long. And he also said, well, the US doesn't fall into that as well anymore. Well, you're getting close. We're getting close to that point where if Americans give up their freedoms and liberties, I'll be the first person that stands up that the United States doesn't matter either anymore, because I'm not going to ever support a dictator. So I don't know if I conveyed that properly, Rick, to you last time, but you think you're trolling me when you say that because you think I misspoke. I didn't misspoke. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in freedom and liberty for a society. And if a society doesn't get to choose its own leaders on a regular basis, then I don't care.
Okay. Can I break you for a second?
Yeah.
We have a comment down there. Rick, Ukraine isn't a democracy? In what world you living? Can you explain me? Maybe you want to come up to tell me. Because you are. Huh?
Let me see. He might be here. Rick normally joins. Rick and I have strong disagreements, but he's drinking. He's drinking.
I don't want to join anymore. I really don't want to join, TK, because you are making white supremacist arguments straight up.
No.
And I said that last time, and you dropped me for it because you don't want to confront that. When you say that all of Africa and almost all of Asia and most of Latin America doesn't matter, what you're saying is that the only countries that matter are white people countries.
No, see, you have a comprehension problem.
You use this excuse.
You
say that these are the democracies, and all these other countries where white people.
I didn't say Africa didn't have democracies, and I didn't say See, you have a serious comprehension issue. Go read my message that I wrote to you. I said many. If those democracies in Africa aren't democracies, you think it's white supremacy? Like you have a warped thinking and a comprehension issue.
Some countries matter and other countries don't matter. Yes, that's white supremacy. Okay. When it just so happens to be the countries with white people are the ones that are democracies, and the countries that don't have any white people are the ones that aren't democracies. I think that's a white supremacist argument.
Okay, you can think that all you want.
Can I just ask a question?
All right.
I'm not talking to you, Florian. You're an op.
Why?
Like, I don't care.
I'm just curious, how much of the population, how much of the world population do white people make up? Do we know the percentage?
Not very much.
Like,
but according to TK, those are the countries that matter, right?
No, that's do not put words in my mouth.
A single form of
don't put words in my mouth. Come with facts.
Right?
I was the one that dropped you. TK didn't drop you. I dropped you because I thought you were getting a little rude, and I didn't want the whole conversation to go down the rabbit hole. So he didn't drop you. I did, because I thought you were getting out of control.
It's a dog whistle. That's what this is. It's
no,
all just dog.
I don't know. I feel bad. Go ahead.
You might not understand that this is the same. And the reason that I say this is because I've heard literal Nazis make the same argument. You should consider that, TK.
Okay, Rick, give me 1 second.
I'm not talking to you, Florian. I'm not talking to you, Florian.
Okay, but you listen to me, please, 1 second. You say
I'm not listening to you either. I'm not talking to you. I'm not listening to you. TK brought me up here because he wanted to talk to me about something we said. I don't want to have conversations with weird NATO bots. If I wanted to talk to NAFO, I would go on Twitter. Okay.
Is everything like everything conspiracy or propaganda to you, Rick? I mean, I don't know what happened to you, and I do feel for. I do like you, but for some reason, your propaganda, I just don't get it. I don't know did I invite you up?
It's because you started making Nazi arguments, TK.
Oh my goodness! Hey,
what? Definitely not.
It is. It literally is saying that Western liberal democracies are the countries that matter, and everywhere else is a place that doesn't matter, is a Nazi argument.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, can we agree for something, Rick? Rick.
No,
Rick.
Shut the fuck up, Florian. I'm not talking to you. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that.
You agree that the most countries in Europe are
I'm not talking to you, Florian. I'm talking to
you. You agree, I think, that the most countries are democracies in Europe, yeah?
Let's go. Yeah.
And the point there, you see, for the immigration in Europe, what percentage we have white, like you say. You know, we in Germany
Most of it.
have, we in
Because most of the
Germany
immigration in Europe is
have
between
8
other
million
European
Tur-
countries to the point where you
listen
got
to
rid
me.
of
Let
borders.
him finish,
between
Rick.
other European
Rick, let him
countries.
finish.
We in Germany, for
So you
example,
don't count it as immigration
have 8
anymore.
million Turkish. Look, we have 84 million people there. 8 million Turkish living there, yeah? 3 million Kurdish, yeah?
Are
We have
Turkish
about
not
1.3
European
million.
now
We
all of a
have
sudden?
we have 1.3 million Syrian people that living there. Yeah, we're having like 2.2 million people from Africa living there. Yeah, and you know what? Yes, we have problem with immigration, and we tell it loud. We have problem with immigration. They coming there and doing crime. Yeah, we have problem with that. But we
Are you
welcome
listening to this,
everyone.
DK?
We
He
welcome
sounds just
everyone.
like MAGA.
Listen to me.
He
Listen to
sounds
me.
just
And
like
this is a
MAGA.
European thing. This is a European idea.
No, this
not
is a
NATO.
fucking
This
white
is a European.
supremacist thing. He said that
Bro,
Africans are
bro,
coming
I'm
to
not
Europe to
only
do
NATO.
crimes.
I'm an international lawyer. Yeah.
He says
I
that
tell you
Africans are
something.
coming to Europe to do crimes. That's what he just said.
No, I say we have a problem with them are doing crimes. We not have a problem with immigration. We love to welcome them. Without immigration, our countries are not so strong.
Yep.
You think, okay, Rick.
He sounds
Rick,
exactly
I think,
like MAGA. Tell me he doesn't, TK. Tell me that doesn't sound exactly like
No.
MAGA.
No, it's because
No.
again,
This
you
is
don't
what
have
MAGA
you have
does.
comprehension issues. I don't know what to tell you, Rick. You just
He didn't deny. He literally just said that there
No.
are Africans coming to Europe to do crimes.
No, I not say this. I think you have a problem with your ear. Please go to the doctor, bro. Yeah.
No, I can recognize dog whistles. When Europeans start complaining about immigrants coming from Africa, coming from Syria, coming from Turkey, it's just racist bullshit.
No,
I know
we
that.
bring them to Germany. We raise them there. They've been born already the 4th and 5th generation already in Germany. We bring them in the 70s and 80s there because we don't have enough people for work. Understand? We bring them there.
Yeah, this is the
and we welcome in Europe every refugee need help, are coming out of war conflicts and different conflicts, yeah, or being following by different countries because they speak something or hesitated for something. We welcome them. But also I say, and this is maybe you get wrong in your mindset when I said it, yeah, also I say they have to take and use the rules of the countries. It's the same like you go for Africa.
It's the same thing.
In Nigeria.
He's saying the same thing.
Listen to me.
Oh, we
example,
don't mind
you
the
go-
immigrants. We just
listen,
want legal immigrants.
I
We don't
was
mind the
based
immigrants. We
around
just
the
want
world, and
legal
I
immigrants,
travel
right?
around the world.
It's like talking to a fucking ICE agent.
Yes, we can talk about ICE agents. They are fucking Gestapo. This will never happen in Germany like that.
You're
Never
talking
ever.
just like them. You're talking
No, I'm
just
not.
like them. That's
No,
literally the
definitely
argument
not.
that people who support ICE in the United
No,
States
I'm
make.
not.
They say we like immigrants, but we need them to be
No,
legal,
when
and the
they
ones
do
that are
cri-
coming right
look,
now
when
they're
they
doing
do
crimes.
I give you example. I give you example. We have in Germany a case in North
I didn't come
Germany,
up here to
close
talk
to
to some
Hamburg.
fucking bullshit
Okay,
ass
listen.
racist.
then
We
drop
have-
yourself, Rick. Drop yourself.
I'm leaving. I just want to say that you are keeping company with white supremacists.
Yeah.
TK.
Good. All right.
And
So,
that's why I don't want
oh, then Florian, since he doesn't want to listen to you, maybe I can have a little bit more constructive delivery. Then I'd like Rick to answer because Rick is a complete lover of China, everything China, and a communist of China. Then I would like Rick to say this has nothing to do about the white race. Then why does the Han race in China discriminate so harshly against certain the Uyghurs, spelled with a U? It's called the Uyghurs, the Tibetans, the Hus, and other races.
The Hui are Han, by the way.
What?
They're just the Hui, not Hu.
No,
The Hui
it's called.
are-
They're
are
called.
Han Muslim.
It's often pronounced Uyghurs with a
No,
U.
Uyghurs. I thought you were talking, but you just said the Hui. Like,
Oh, I
and the
know. I don't know how to
Uyghurs-
pronounce it
and
all.
the
Right?
Uyghurs they literally have affirmative action for Uyghurs. They have affirmative action for all 56 ethnic minorities, not just the 3 that Americans like to claim are oppressed, right? Like they
Are
have.
you
And
trying to defend that?
I was
Are you
just at
saying
dinner
that?
last night?
Are you saying that China has no oppression against other ethnic groups in China? Is that what you're going to try and tell me?
Not in a legal framework, no.
Okay.
Oh,
It
really?
happened.
Look at the United Nations report, Rick.
Yeah, the ones that are based entirely on anecdotes from people living in fucking Europe.
Man,
Sure.
you talk about
from
racist.
From the same group that like is training with the IDF in Israel.
Rick,
yeah, I'm gonna
you
trust
are
that.
more discriminatory than any of us here.
See, Rick, yeah,
Because
the
I hate
guy
white
who makes this
supremacists?
report of the guy who makes this report, what I just said, yeah, what you have to see for human rights, you know where it's coming from?
Yeah, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch.
No.
and-
I'm talking for United Nations, bro. I'm not talking for any NGO.
Yeah, and they cite the Adrian Zenz report. Do you know who Adrian Zenz is? He's a Christian zealot who
No,
thinks
I asked
that
you.
God
You
put him
know
on this
who makes
earth.
the United Nations
That God put him on this
is a
earth
full
to destroy the
communist.
Chinese Communist Party.
This
This
is
is
a
why I don't
full
want to talk to
communist.
these
He's
fuckers.
coming from
This guy is
Cuba.
literally, he's a white supremacist, NATO apologist. That's all he is. That's what's going on here. And what he does is repeat all of the same fucking talking points that they've been using to try to corner fucking China, to try to corner Russia,
Jesus.
to try to like create this fucking
Hey man, you
global empire
go love
that's
your
falling
dictators.
apart.
Go love your autocracies and dictators. See where that gets you, buddy. You I know you've had some issues.
Yeah, it's great here.
Yeah, for
It's
now.
fucking great.
For now,
okay?
it's great, and that's awesome for you. But you're warped in your mind.
You should talk for it.
For people
You should keep
generally,
talking like this, bro.
for people
You should keep talking
generally,
like this because you will have problems in China. Why not?
Can I ask a question?
Of course, SB.
When you guys get done waving your pricks at each other, because it's getting kind of old. Rick, do the people of China have complete freedom of speech to protest the government if they don't like it?
sure do. Why do you think the zero COVID policy ended?
I'm just asking. They have complete freedom of speech. They can go protest. They can.
I mean, no place has complete freedom of speech.
Oh,
Ask Florian to say if he can wave a Palestinian flag outside of his house right now.
well, we're not
Of
talking
course,
about that. I was just asking about China because I'm trying to educate myself. I was under the impression that there are certain types of speech in China that are not allowed. Is that inaccurate?
I mean, on social media, there are certain things in any social media you're not allowed to say.
Okay, but
That's based on the policy of the social media.
Oh, not about but the
Not-
government? What about the government? Are you saying the government in China is not involved with censoring people on social media?
Point to the law. Bring up the law. If you want to know about Chinese law, look it up.
okay, fine.
Like,
does
I'm not a lawyer
okay,
like Florian here.
okay, all right. Does oh shit, I lost it. Give me a second.
I'm not Google. Like,
I'm not asking you to be Google, but you're pro China and you're pro communism from what I'm hearing. I haven't spoken to you directly about it, but are the people thought of ahead of everything else in China, or is profit thought of ahead of the people?
The
Do they put the
by
people?
far.
Do they put the? In other words, do they put?
by far
So the government, the government of China puts its people first.
Yeah, that's the reason that China has a 90% home ownership rate.
Okay.
That the average savings rate in China is 45%.
The
their income.
average what?
Savings rate. The average person in China can save 45% of their income. That's
see.
how low the expenses are. That's what the cost of living is like here.
I
The wages have doubled twice in the last 2 decades because they put the people first.
Does-
Can you say that about any Western country?
Does
Yes.
China have free and fair elections with multiple competing parties?
Yes, there are 9 political parties in China.
I don't care how many there are. Does it have free and fair elections with
Yeah.
with clear opposition and the ability to change governments and a force to change governments?
They have ability to change policy, which is not something that Western democracies have.
Okay, the state secretary of China, how long is he already? had
Less
this
time than Angela Merkel was in office.
Really?
Yes, it's been
How long
What
he
is
is?
it, 12
How long he
years?
is in office? How long he is
12
in
years.
office?
12 years. Angela Merkel was in for
Okay,
15.
and for how long more time he's already elected?
I mean, the next election I think is in 2028,
2029. So
2029.
and Angela Merkel was 13
So-
years, and she stepped back on herself. You think he will step back on himself?
Probably, honestly.
Okay, tell me what happened with the last presidents in China.
Hu Jintao?
Hmm?
Hu Jintao was only in for what, 8 years?
And what happened with him?
He was replaced by Xi Jinping.
Okay, and what happened with him? This is what my question is. What happened with him?
I don't know what happened with him.
Did you see him again after that?
Is he still alive? Yeah.
Yes, but
Was
do
he
you
still in
see him?
politics after that? No.
Okay, do you see him? I mean,
What do you mean see him? Are you doing the Chinese people disappear because I don't know them personally thing? Like, oh, they're not in public life
See,
anymore?
I ask you because you live in bro. You see, I ask you. Yeah, you say you.
I don't know
like
what was
China.
going on
Okay,
fucking
listen
almost
to-
20
listen
years
to
ago
me.
now. Like,
Okay,
this
listen
is
to
like
me. Listen to me.
well over.
Rick,
You're asking me
Rick,
about
I
something that
asked you
happened when I was like
All right,
20.
just say you don't know. It's okay. Just say you don't know.
I don't know.
Just
No,
say
I
you
don't
don't know.
know. But,
I will
what
explain
he's
you
doing
what
what
happened
he's
with
doing right now is trying to push some more bullshit propaganda because I don't.
No, it's not.
And I know it's
propaganda,
bullshit because
provable.
everything this guy comes out of this guy's mouth is bullshit. He thinks Ukraine is a democracy. When they don't have an election, they banned 11 political parties.
Okay, see, first of all, yeah, now I'm triggered. Sorry,
Yeah, I
sorry
know
for
that
that.
was true.
Okay,
That's true, though.
so
That's a
I will
fact. You
I
can
will
look
tell
it
you
up.
I will tell you something about Ukraine. You know why they don't have elections at the moment?
You're going to say it's because of a war, but plenty of countries have elections.
No.
during wars.
I ask you something. Tell me. You tell me, not I.
Because
give
they
you
don't care that
something.
much about
Tell me why.
democracy.
Tell me
that's
why.
why. They don't care that much about democracy. That's why.
I don't care about democracy,
not a
and
priority.
Ukraine don't care. No, see, I tell you something. I explain you something
Democracy
about
was a
it.
priority.
It's
They'd have an
martial law.
election.
You know what martial
Yeah.
law means?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
dictators do.
That's no,
Like
no.
that's
You
what
have ma-
dictators do. They put
No,
things under
no,
martial
no.
law.
All countries have a point in them constitution called martial law. Every country in this world, even
Yeah, and
fucking
dictators
China,
are the
you
ones
should
that
read.
use it.
Even fucking China, you should read it. Yeah, even they have something like martial law.
Countries that are
Yeah.
under martial law are
And-
no longer
And, you-
democracies.
and I think we agreed
how that
that
works.
Russia.
That's what martial
that
law is.
Russia
It means
are-
it's
Let
not
him
a
finish.
democracy.
Let him finish.
Rick. And
I said
I think we think.
I said I
I
didn't
think
want to
we
fucking
agreed
talk to you,
that-
Florian, and this is why.
Because
You're just going to mute
because
me
you-
about you rant.
No, I'm muting because I would let people like to finish their thoughts without you interrupting. And if you can't
I
handle,
want him to finish it.
you don't. Then
No,
you,
I don't.
So-
I don't.
Then
I don't
drop,
fucking
man.
care.
Drop yourself. Get lost. If you
You're
don't
the
want
one
to
who
have,
invited me up here.
I don't know if I actually did. I didn't invite you up here.
I guess
I did.
Mr. Global probably did, right?
I did.
Mr. Global, who's never even been to Asia, like
I can't get on planes. I don't like getting on planes for that long. I have a phobia.
Now we have
Fucking
ships.
Uber
We have
then,
ships.
bro.
We have ships, Mr. Global. No problem.
I could probably, man, I don't know if I could do a ship either. I don't know.
you should
I
probably.
need to be there in like 30 minutes. I can maybe do a 30-minute ride. We need some rockets or something.
Rick, before you go, let me just say something. Yeah.
Nah, fuck you.
Who, me? All right, good.
Oh bloody hell!
Yeah, Rick. Here's the thing. I can criticize.
No,
Let me just say one thing. And I always do. I will criticize the United States often, really fucking often. I criticize the United States, no matter whether it's Biden, whether it was Trump, whether it's anything else, whether it's all kinds of race relations and other things. But for some reason, this communist can never criticize anything about anything that he believes is to be true about China. Like, it's absurd the amount of how close-minded he is. And that's to everybody else that's still here. I don't know if Rick, if you're still here, but you need to reflect. If you don't think I criticize the United States frequently, then you're not paying attention. You don't think I criticize white nationalists continuously in the Heritage Foundation all the fucking time? It's like my number one thing that I criticize. I criticize equally every race, religion, country, so forth. The only thing I don't criticize is the vision of a self-ruled society and freedoms and liberties and the rule of law.
Right, which
TK,
I'm
TK,
still waiting
sorry,
to I'm still not understanding how he connects your disapproval of a government repressing its people with color. It doesn't matter if they're brown, black, green, purple. If they're repressing their people, you're going to speak out against that. And what I don't get how that is a white supremacist position. I don't get it.
And even
Well, you
the
said
point is
perception
why
is
I'm in
reality.
PK's life is because he's just doing what he just say. This is why I like TK's lives. Yeah, and TK's idea for the 28 and 29 amendment. Yeah. So, and this all makes freedom actually. Yeah. This all gives idea of freedom of speech. This all, it's a idea of the United States. Fuck you know. Yeah, and the United States is in the wrong direction at the moment. That, and I think that most of us can agree for this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm for freedom no matter what race, no matter it's Latin America or it's Africa and whatever race or religion or whatever it might be.
And you guys heard about the Venezuelan lady that's in charge now, just handed the Nobel Peace Prize over to Trump. You heard about that, right?
I did not.
Yeah, it just happened before I got here.
So you're saying Machado, her
No, the lady that is now in charge of Venezuela handed, like, literally awarded him the Nobel Peace Prize.
but she didn't have it.
She was awarded it apparently.
I thought Machado was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, whatever, I don't know what her name is, but the person that was replaced the one they kidnapped. The current.
She was not placed. She was a vice president, so she just go in action.
Well, she just awarded Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, I don't know how that works, but okay. I just thought I'd throw that in there. This is how screwed up things are.
Nichelle just said it. Delcy Rodriguez is her name.
Yeah, that one.
Delcy Rodriguez, did she have the Nobel Peace Prize?
I thought wasn't she awarded it just recently, and now she's handing it over to Trump, apparently.
Nicole, Nicole, if you want to come up, it'd be nice to have a female presence.
It has nothing to do with
too many bros here.
I still don't.
I was just thinking if there's.
I know I do that all the time. I throw in random stuff on your lives. I'm sorry.
We're at that part of the show, towards the end of the show, where it just devolves into chaos.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's sort of like the latter stages of democracy.
My bad.
Sounds like America.
Hey TK, I was watching you the other night and followed you. Love your content. Yeah, I just popped in and thanks for having me up and hello to the chat and to the panel. Yeah, so Delcy Rodriguez was the VP to Maduro.
Right.
You're thinking of Machado, who won the Nobel Peace Prize. Now she didn't award it to him, but in her acceptance speech, she kind of like, was brown-nosing Trump a little bit and saying, "Oh, I think that you're the one that deserves the award." So
I heard about that, but I literally just watched something on YouTube half an hour ago before I came here.
Yeah, so Nichelle is explaining it. Yep, Nichelle.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. And yeah, thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. Most people say something completely different, but yeah, it's Nichelle, like Nichelle Nichols, if anybody is an old Trekkie fan.
Yeah.
But yes, so it was Delcy Rodriguez. She's the current sitting VP, and Machado was the one that won the Nobel Peace Prize. And then she kind of said that she felt like Trump, deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, because we all know that Trump has been on this kind of campaign lately, sharing that he feels like he stopped all these wars and he's done all these things, and he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. And so, maybe that's where the mix-up came in. But yeah, Delcy Rodriguez is actually the VP.
Yeah, okay. Venezuela opposition leader Machado is the one that did it, apparently. So I'm just saying what I just saw. I didn't watch the whole clip, so I may be passing.
Nichelle, does that make sense? I mean, Machado's the one that had it, so she'd be the only one that could give it away, but you're suggesting that the VP actually gave away something that she didn't have.
Yeah, no, I was just clarifying.
No. This was okay, Nichelle. Sorry, I break you.
Go ahead, Florian. No, go ahead.
Actually, she just give it by speech away. She just said, absolutely, normally Donald Trump need to deserve it because he's a peacemaker in the world. And she make it like a joke. Yeah? Nothing else.
Okay.
This was just like a joke, like she mean it. Yeah? Like
Yeah,
ironic, she
because
said.
you're absolutely right,
Because
Florian.
he bring more chaos in the world than peace.
Okay.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And there's been conversation around that because, like Florian said, she is the opposition, leader, and a lot of people were speculating whether or not she would be installed, if you will. I'm air quoting here. If this was considered a true regime change, so I think it's interesting that they're highlighting that, because then. Consequently, after that, Trump kind of like poo-pooed her, as like, yeah, you're not the one I would pick. And then of course, Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in by the Venezuelan Supreme Court as the temporary sitting president.
Right. Okay. Never mind.
Thanks for that update, Nichelle. And your name's easy to pronounce. At least give me something harder. I am pretty poor pronunciation at time, but Nichelle is just like Michelle with an N. Pretty easy.
You would be surprised, my friend. You would be surprised.
Dang.
I get Nicole, Nichelle, Nichelli, Nicolette. I get it all the time. So
what's the nickname though? What do they go with the nickname? Niche?
Actually, only my family calls me Shell, but nobody outside. Like, I don't really have a nickname. I don't go by Shelly or anything like that. But yeah, family members call me Shell.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing us the 411. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching. I always appreciate, I haven't spoken to you in the past, so it's nice to see new people here as I continue to try and do whatever the hell I'm doing.
Well, what I can tell you is from what I saw, if I could share really quick, what kind of paused me. So I'm a mod for some content creators, and people will find me on those panels all the time. And what drew me to your account was, again, just kind of looking at your bio too, like trying to bring enlightenment, if you will. It's very difficult in this climate. And I think we need all hands on deck to try to reach as many people as we can. And all of us have different circles of influence and audiences that will listen. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. People may be more inclined to listen to you, maybe than me, and vice versa. And I think we all know why. And so I just appreciate what you're doing out here. So.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. I always appreciate the props, and always, this is hard to motivate yourself to always try and speak your truth and whatever each of our truths are. Right. And I think we all know we're trying to defend, those of us that are trying to defend American democracy. And we're all taking maybe different approaches, and we'll see, hopefully at some point there combines and something good happens out of it.
Sounds bleak.
Well, with you, Aspie and Mike here, I mean, you guys sometimes bring the bleak. So maybe it's your fault that sometimes that I, take my position.
Everybody calls me a ray of sunshine.
Mm-hmm. It's opposite day, like every day then in your world, isn't it?
Yeah. How'd you guys like the podium today? The podium? Oh, man.
I will be back in 1 minute. I just have to do something.
The lady, what's her name? Nomi.
Christy Nome. You talking about the statement, the horrible statement she had on her podium?
Yeah, she said on her podium today. Guess what she had written on it, TK?
Was that
One of
today?
us,
I saw like
one of us,
it was some racist thing, right? Go ahead, repeat it.
one of us, all of you.
What?
They're not fascists, right?
Wow.
Rick,
And I would
One of
encourage
us, all
everybody.
of you.
Uh, uh, he makes such a good point. I would encourage everybody to go Google the history of that statement. One of
So,
ours for
so,
all of yours.
so that state. So there's a little. It's a little bit misleading. So that was never used back then. That saying, but it is a white supremacist and a fascist statement. It's outside of that context. It's been used, but that is what it's referring to, and it's an absolute. You take all context away, it's an absolute fascist comment.
from what
And what is it again? One of ours, all
One
of
of ours,
yours,
all of you, all of
all
yours.
of you.
okay, let me
So that's
explain.
basically saying that's you take one of
You heard
ours,
one
we
of
take
us,
all
we're
of
gonna
you.
hurt all of you.
Wow.
From what I see here, it wasn't used often in Germany. It was used in Spain. One of ours, all of yours was a fascist rallying cry in the 1930s Spain, implying a hierarchy where one of ours is worth all of yours.
Yeah, you hurt one of ours, we're gonna hurt all of you. And it is attributed. That saying is like attributed to something that happened in Germany where they took out a high-ranking leader and then they went and liquidated that city of all men and anybody over the age of 15 that was male. And that's kind of what that alludes to. But it's an absolute fascist statement in and of itself, away from all context.
Is it concerning the guy that's on the run, the ICE agent that's hiding?
Yeah. It's about ICE.
Wow.
It's about the attacks. They're saying that ICE is being attacked. So they're saying if you attack one of ours, then we're gonna unleash hell on all of you.
I see.
Heritage Foundation, everybody. Normal, like, can't stress it enough. Like, more research I've done in the Heritage Foundation and who their backers are. The Coors family, the Coors Brewing Company, and one of the family members literally being named Adolf. Like,
wow.
Like, stunning. So I'm going to do a video on that, showing the backers, the top 10 backers of the Heritage Foundation and some of
There's
their
a lot of
background.
families you haven't heard of. I was in there last night when you guys were talking about it. I couldn't get on the panel, but I named them in the chat. I don't remember all their names, but there's 6 families, and you haven't heard of most of them. They're very off.
Yeah, I did
The
all the
names aren't-
research today. There's like 3 or 4 of them that you would very well know, like the Waltons and the DeVos family, Betsy DeVos and Amway and others, but there's others that you wouldn't recognize. Yes.
Right.
DeVos.
And they're also they're all tied to big oil, climate deniers.
Yep.
The
The largest
ones that-
the largest donator is I forget the name of the family, but yeah, they're oil companies, of course.
A lot of them are, not just the one. Many of them are. It's not just the Koch brothers, but many of them are tied to that.
Speaking of TK and Meg Dem, I can't see your full name. The iconography that this administration is using is very, very problematic in my opinion. And this is no shade to anybody. This is a little bit of encouragement, right? Please, I would encourage everybody to kind of, they do things with intention. So like there's a picture that was floating around. I don't know if it was like the digital version of the White House archives, but the Woman in Destiny, I think that's what that painting is called, Women of Destiny. That is once again a far right kind of image. It shows a, using TikTok friendly language here, a non-melanated female floating over a very Americana type looking field, and she's got a book in her hand. They're using all of these phrases and iconography, if you will, and their dog whistles specifically for like alt-right, groups and things like that. And a lot of people like aren't aware of it. Just know that if you see something like that, you can always Google it or do an image search to kind of get more information. And to TK's point, just watching how corrupt like this government like really is. And a lot of it's being done, with this kind of like white Christian nationalist America first umbrella, but it's incredibly harmful and has some very problematic history tied to it. So I'm seeing that more and more, like it's becoming more and more obvious, and it's very disturbing.
I just want to draw the. So I've been saying this ever since Donald Trump came out with it. The DEIA stuff that he did, it's very remiss of what Adolf did, and it was the reclamation, the civil act that he had passed, and what it does, the purpose of it, is to take away protections of people that are protected from the federal government to to abuse the rights that they have. It's to strip them of their rights and then remove them from the economy and make them second-class citizens. That is the exact same thing that DEIA is, that Trump tried getting rid of. All of their. I've tried to tell people this from day one. These are Yazis. They're just American and not German.
Now,
That's really what they're pushing. They're pushing that narrative, that ideology, and they're trying to do it the same way.
but always remember when you say, when we use the word like the administration and Trump, we're giving them too much credit. Like they are literally just being handed this stuff by the think tank themselves, by the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. It's those people.
I agree. Yeah.
Because the Trump doesn't have an ideology. He doesn't have values, right? He doesn't think like that. And the same thing with all the morons in this administration. They are just being fed. It's coming down from the playbook. It's coming from the Heritage Foundation and all the dog whistles and all the phrases that they use and so forth and the dog whistles. It's all leverage. Like obviously MAGA backs Trump. So when you give Trump too much credit for these things, you take away from the real sinister forces here that are the Heritage Foundation. Like you can't put a singular face to the Heritage Foundation. Obviously the CEO is Kevin Roberts, but no one knows who he is. So that's the thing about deep ideologies is they transcend individuals. There's never an individual. It's a deeper ideology. And it's important to point that out, I think, to people because people have heard the phrase, the company, who the Heritage Foundation is, but they truly don't understand what they stand for. And like someone posted in the comments here that I forget who he said in the comments was warning about the Heritage Foundation back in the 1990s. It was Pat Buchanan, I think, right? No, Barry Goldwater warned repeatedly back in the 90s about the Heritage Foundation ideas. And that's when they were let's call it less nefarious and just sort of more hardcore Christian conservatives versus what they are today, which is just pure white supremes.
And I'd also like to add to the thing I'm trying to push. There's no mistake that women in our country are telling you that they feel like they're being turned into breeders, and that's the only thing that they bring to the table. It's the same thing in Germany. It's the exact. That was the whole purpose of women in Germany. That was their obligation, even outside of marriage.
Yep. Usually breeding stock.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, these guys are Yahtzees. I've been on that since day one. Ever since reading that Project 2025, I've been on that.
So what you see, and I'm just so glad amongst men here,
White men, you can say
that
it.
y'all see that. Well, listen, that you guys see it, right?
Yeah.
There was a woman in the chat that said, "Are women going to be able to vote in this upcoming election?" Like, a year ago, I would have been like, "Well, that's a ridiculous statement." But look at how the levers of power are tools are being stripped away one by one, very slowly. I call it like the boiling frog syndrome, right? It's not obvious, right? The boiling frog syndrome goes that you put a frog, in a cold pot of water, and you slowly turn the temperature up, right? And before you know it, the frog is not living anymore, right? It doesn't happen suddenly. It's little by little that things are being taken away from us to be able to participate in this democracy, which is terrifying. But as far as women is concerned, I mean, you guys are 1000% on point. It's the great replacement theory. That's exactly what the Heritage Foundation parts of it are based on. Birthing rates are a part of that. And the browning of America is a real thing. That is a real thing statistically, right? I can't remember exactly what years. I'd have to pull up the CDC predictions again for demographics and population demographics and things like that. Literally, white men are worried. They're very, very worried. And so, of course, they're going to be targeting things like DEI. Of course, they're going to be targeting things like women. Speaking of Heritage Foundation, TK, I've downloaded it. I have it's a long document, but I think they're what is it called? Saving the nuclear family, something like that.
Right.
And it's all about controlling things like the birth rate, IVF, who gets IVF, birth control, things like that. So that's a big, big deal. And once again, most people, it's not even on their radar at all.
Also, look at the agenda and the tenets of the Turning Point Foundation. They're right in there with that whole same ideology.
Right. And one fun fact, which I think you probably know, Nichelle, as well, just because that metaphor about a frog thrown into boiling water, or heating it up slowly, it's actually a myth. For those 65 people that actually think that's true, it's actually a myth. But I use it all the time too because it gets your point across.
It's very effective. I agree.
It gets your point across. Florian, I think you wanted to jump in and respond to Nichelle.
Of course. I respect Michelle too much. I see her in a lot of other lives, and the funny thing is we agree at a lot of points. Yeah, so, and I respect her. So, and the thing what she just mean is with the Project 2025, what we talked many times already in your life. Yeah, it's like family put in the center, but it means like for them means like put white Christian families in the center, and that's a wrong direction. That makes it no sense for me.
Well, and let me add that
I make a decision. Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Get me my point
Okay.
of view. I'm German. I work a lot in the United States. I have a green card, actually. I can stay in the United States so long I want. Even I have the possibility to have the citizenships of the United States because I have property, I have a company there running everything. So, but the point is, you know why I make long time before Trump the decision not to be a US citizen? Because of problems between the races and between the hillbillies and the black people and the source states having problem with black people. I grown up in Germany, and we are a multicultural country. My neighbor, I grown up in a normal house. Yeah, we had some 12 apartments there. Yeah, and in this 12 apartments, we are one white family. The other was Turkish, Kurdish, one from United States, one from England. Yeah, so many nationals live together under one house. And this is all over Germany, the same situation. And the point of my view in this is, the United States, the idea of the United States is a different one. The United States exists because of immigration. The United States exists because have many cultures living together. Yeah, this is how it works, not different. And if you want to have a white citizenship, Christian, blah, 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 yeah, then I'm sorry, the United States is nothing for me then. Yeah, because this is like the third, in the Second World War, the Third Reich, we call it in Germany, das Dritte Reich, when you call it directly, is working. And this is not an opinion, what I see the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution, I don't know if somebody understands the Constitution and all amendments, because everything is written down. You just have to follow it. And the bad education in the United States, I was based in Afghanistan, and we had some guys from Texas based there, from the Texas National Guard coming there in our base. And they said, "Oh, who's your commanding officer? He's from the SS?" They don't know anything about fucking Germany. They never left the country before. Yeah. So bloody hell, nobody understands it. Yeah. And it's not only about history of Germany that they don't know. The most Americans never traveled. That's the problem. They never educated going for other countries or look for other countries, other cultures. Yeah. And that's the main problem. The older generation, like you, TK.
Gee.
Yes, they have some mindset. Not all. They have some mindset because they look a little bit out of the cup. Yeah. So, but if you see, for example, the young generation, when they travel, for example, to Southeast Asia, they're coming here having like a party zone. Yeah, they're doing like a temple tour, like one day. Yeah, so think, oh, nice temples. But in the night, when they drink beer with each other in a club, yeah, they say, oh, sorry that I say it, but it's like, oh, they have a lot of Asian people here. Fucking hell, you are in Asia. You know, this is like, bloody hell, this is, you know, this is nothing what I can live, and I agree. Yeah. So this is, and I can't educate the people on myself. Yeah. I can't do. I hope sometimes in the lives when somebody coming up are not educated and we explain them something. I think it's the same reason why you do your lives, to educate people and get them a real mindset of the life. Yeah. It's the same with me. When I try to educate people sometimes and explain them the situation, because it's a lot of bullshitting around, for example, for Greenland at the moment, what happened, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, and the thing is, when I try to explain this, the most people not understand. The most people are not even understand in the United States. They are nothing without NATO. They not understand it. Even some officers not understand it of the army or of the Marines. Yeah. You know, the thing is, yesterday I had one live, I was there. There was a guy, he was like 22 years old. He said, oh yeah, we are more strong. What do you think when NATO wants to, other NATO members want to attack us? We will just overtake everything. I said, fucking hell, you have more than 200 bases in Europe. What do you think will happen with these bases? They are not prepared for ground attacks. Yeah. So what do you think will happen? They will overtake after 1 minute. Yeah, but we have Marines for protect them. Yes, you have, but you think other nations down in Europe don't have soldiers? Yeah, you know, they have no fucking idea. Yeah, they have really no idea for that. Yeah.
So let me.
This is like a thing.
Yeah.
I confused for some things, really.
Let me, and I'd like to have Nichelle's comment on this because she's, you know, probably going to have maybe a little bit of something to say here, because I want to point something out, that white America has been exploited by a certain religion to believe that this is a country founded on some Christian values. And let me clarify for most Americans that don't understand the founding fathers and the vision, don't mistake vision for the reality of what they were living in terms of their morals and ethics at their time. These white elites that created the Constitution, the same ones that were slave owners, some of them didn't believe in slavery. Some of them owned slaves. I think they all owned slaves, but they didn't believe in it, except for Hamilton, I believe. Make sure they realize that white Americans need to realize that the Constitution was founded as a secular document. That means no law should be based on a religion, that we are freedom of religion in this country. And this was created by white Protestant elites who were slave owners. And they had a vision for something very different, or some of them did. Jefferson, Hamilton, others. Some of them, they were not all equal. They did not all agree with each other, but they did have a vision. Even though at the time of the Constitution being ratified, you still couldn't have women voting. Black people couldn't vote. There was the 3/5 compromise. So people will always say, well, they didn't really have the vision. They weren't that smart. These were slave owners. These were horrible human beings. They were white Protestant, which is based off of Christianity. They could have created anything they wanted to. They could have gotten together and say, we're just going to create a white society, the white elite society, and maintain slavery. But the vision, not the practice at the time, because you could discredit a lot of the founding fathers for not having the moral courage to try and push harder for some of the things that they envisioned in the future. But anyway, they created, so for white Americans who are watching, realize that they decided to create something different that wasn't based on religion. And it was a vision. It wasn't a finished product by any means just because you created the Constitution. But they gave that Constitution the ability to evolve into what it was evolving to when you had the civil rights era and the voting rights era and on all the other things that we went through our history, things were moving in the direction that more matched Jefferson's vision of the Declaration of Independence, where all men are created equal, even though that was a terrible choice of phrase. But again, he probably didn't have the courage at the time to say all people are created equal, or maybe he actually meant it. Doesn't matter. The vision was meant to be grander. So that's my sort of thoughts on it for those white Americans that think that we're some sort of white Christian nation and that's the way we should become. That is such bullshit. That's my thoughts on it. I don't know if Michelle, if you have any response, and you don't have to agree with everything I said. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree. I think white Christian nationalism is becoming a huge problem. As a Christian myself, I call myself a red letter Christian, right? Um, who's done a lot of deconstructing. I mean, that is so incredibly common, and it's a myth, like you said, and it's hard to dismantle that, and that may be by design, right? Um, because when you tie political, this is just my opinion, when you tie political ideology to a particular faith, that becomes weaponized in a way that people just don't understand. And I don't care which faith it is. Like, and that's what's happening. Policy has been tied to faith in this nation, and now it's weaponized. So you hear a lot, and I sit on these panels, TK. I literally every single solitary day for hours. I sit with them, listening to their ideas and their perspectives. It is hard for them to separate, the faith from the politics. You see pastors and in pulpits on Sunday talking about politics. I'm 52 years old. I've been voting since the early 90s, 1990, 91. I've never seen it so overt, right? Like it is right now. I think you make an excellent point. I wish more people talked about that, because when you push them and kind of dig a little bit deeper when you're having these conversations with them, when there's nothing else to say, they kind of fall back on what you just said. Like, well, we're a white Christian nation. And by the way, our dollar says, in God we trust. It's like, come on, people, that's not what what this nation was founded on. Yeah. And like I said, it weaponized chattel slavery in this nation. It weaponized what was done to indigenous populations in this nation. It continues to be weaponized against, the LGBTQIA. It affects policy over and over again. And here we are. And I think, like I said, it's difficult for people to separate the two, because faith is something as a human race we hold very dear. Like, if you're tapped into that, whatever your faith is, we hold that near and dear to our hearts. And so they weaponized it, tied policy to it, and now you can't. Well, I'm finding when I interact with them, it's very difficult to get them to separate it.
Well said. I don't know how you solve that problem. Like, paradox of tolerance says I'm an atheist, massively more Christian-like than most Christians. That describes a lot of America as well. Florian, I think you wanted to jump in. Are you still there?
Yeah, I want to jump in. See, I coming from a Jewish Christian background. My mom Jewish, my father is Christian. I raised Roman Catholic. So, and you know what is wonderful in our constitutions? I say our constitutions because in Germany it's the same, and in the United States same. Religion don't have anything to do with politics. Yeah, so everybody can have their own religions. We're not allowed to tell somebody you have to believe in this or that. Yeah, so, and this is a point, what I see as well of this MAGA guys and supporters of Trump, and most of them are thinking, oh, we all have to be Christian, and everything what is not Christian is not good. Yeah, so, but I want to give one other point, and Michelle get me wrong when I'm wrong, but I go for some lives in the last days. So, and they are of the black community. Yeah, so I go there, and you see me in some of them, and I go there, and I feel not welcome, because they all scare as well that I'm maybe going into an ideology what is not following them or something like this. It's not only racism in this world of the white people, have racism of the black people as well, of people of color as well. Let us say like this, not of the black people. Sorry, Michelle, when I heard you with this. But it's like, have racism on both sides. And I think we all have to agree we are all living together in this world. Yeah, and I see it globalized again. Yeah, Mr. Global is not here for sorry, but I see it globalized. And the thing is, you know, we want to live together in peace. Yeah, and we all want to have a good life. And we want all to be good educated and know something about each other. And you know, the funny thing on human beings is that we want to learn our whole life, and we do learn our whole life. Some are not sometimes, and some they are just running with the head into the wall. But you understand what I mean, I think, TK. Yeah, and I want to know of Nichelle, because you're people of color. Is this correct when I say I don't want to hurt you with this? So, but I think you're people of color as well, and I want to know why the fear of this community in the United States is sometimes so big against white people. I want to understand because I'm white. I'm from Germany. I not understand the situation. Just want to understand.
Yeah, so I'm going to two things. So I'm going to speak for myself, number one, because the Black people in America, we're not a monolith, right? So I can't speak to everyone. I'm just going to give my perspective on this. First thing I would like to do is to push back on the notion that specifically African Americans can be racist. So I disagree about that, and I know there's two schools of thought. I'm going to give you mine and the one that's most commonly understood. So when we talk about racism, we're talking about systems. We're talking about systemic, the ability to economically depress or harm a certain community, right? Now, Black people can be bigoted. They can make racial disparaging remarks. They can have prejudice even, right? But systematically, racism is tied to suppressing, having the ability, having a majority race either participate or benefit from that system, right? So by that definition, Black people simply cannot be racist. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that Black people or a Black person can't have a derogatory remark with racial undertones, but that's not the same as being called a racist, right? Second, so what's interesting too, specifically that is unique in America with Black people, right? Not Black people all across the diaspora. There wouldn't be enough time for me to go over the injustices that have been done by the predominantly white community and leaders to Black people in this country. So yeah, I'm not surprised that you were met with an air of distrust. I mean, there's just too much to even go over. I mean, Jim Crow era, Reconstruction, redlining, gerrymandering, the school to prison pipeline. I mean, police brutality. I could go on and on and on and on and on. And there are very real reasons why there is a mistrust from the Black community, regardless of what country you're on or from. I'm sorry. So I hope that's just kind of a general response to that. But again, I'm not necessarily surprised that you were met with an air of distrust.
Nichelle, can I ask a question? It's actually a legitimate question to give context, because I was on some lives as well, predominantly Black community lives. I didn't feel as necessarily the same thing Florian did, but maybe to some degree. But when it comes to systematic oppression of different races, if I recall some of my history about slavery, you had the Middle Easterns, the Arabs that had a lot of slavery and oppressed Black people from Africa as well. Did we ever have a systematic time where Black people were oppressing systematically other races or religion? And if so, why wouldn't that be seen as racist?
So great question. Slave trade is not new. Chattel slavery, however, what happened in America and in the colonies, that is unique by itself.
That's like industrializing slavery, right?
That is literally, yes, absolutely. And this gets brought up a lot, like, well, Black people sold people. Listen, so don't get, and this is not directed toward UTK, this is like just in general, don't confuse involuntary, like, servitude or punishment, by that with chattel slavery. Chattel slavery was something different. Like, my ancestors literally were not considered human beings. Like, they had to make a law to say that Black people in America could be considered even human. Like, sit with that for a second. So that is very unique and specific to the United States, right? So it's different where warring tribes, sold somebody as a punishment into slavery versus what happened here in America. And that's the distinction.
Okay, thank you. I think that helps Florian's perspective as well. That answer should help, I think, Florian, both of us.
Of course, the point is when I see it from my side, the thing is, my childhood in Germany, I raised open-minded. I never see something racism in my neighborhood or something like this. Yes, when I was in the United States, I see a lot of this, and also systematic and police brutality and things like this against, and racial profiling, what is by law not allowed, by the way, even for federal officers, like they do at the moment. But it's like, this thing is like, how I can say,